Hello, everyone. This is an election prediction between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And the reason I do so many of these is because of I personally think Kamala Harris is going to run, and I think she has a very great shot at being the Democratic nominee. Um, so that's why I do so many of Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, because I think it's a very likely scenario come what? Oh yeah, that was Nebraska. Sorry, I thought that was Maine. But I think it's a very likely scenario come 2020. Um, so I'm just filling in the safe states. Minnesota, I'm calling safe, because again, Donald Trump is becoming less and less popular. And I think Kamala Harris would have an appeal to the white working class, which ultimately is what it is. Honestly, again, I don't think you have to appeal to the white working class to win if you're a Democrat this election. But I think you have to be pretty close to that. What am I doing? So this is basically where we're at. No, it's not. This is where we're at in terms of safe states. 228 for Kamala Harris to 113 for Donald Trump. Nope, this is what we're at for safe states. So that's what's safe. Now let's talk about this. Montana, I make it Montana and Alabama, very traditionally deep red states. I'm very conflicted in my head with them, which is why I made them swing states. Does it necessarily mean I think it's going to go blue? Not necessarily, but I think it's going to be a race to watch out for. So let's start with the three states that she has to win. She'll win them: Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. These three states are states that you need to appeal to the white working class. Hillary Clinton did not do that, which is why she didn't carry them. These are also traditionally blue states. Now, I know it's hard to see it that way after the 2016 election, but that's the reality of those three states. Now, let's go to Ohio. Again, I talk about Ohio a lot and how I think it's a white working class state. Ohio, I think, will go blue, because it's very much a state that is a white working class state. Alabama, I think, will go red. I don't think that one takes very much explanation. The only reason I had it a swing state originally was because I don't feel it's safe red. I think it leans red. But yeah, so that's the reality of Alabama. Let's go to Arizona. I think Arizona is going to go blue. It's got an increasing Latino population. It was actually a fairly close state in 2016, and I think a lot of those states that were competitive will flip. Uh, Georgia? Ooh, I'm not going to touch Georgia yet. Florida, I think the Latino population is going to be key for Kamala Harris, but I think ultimately she'll carry Florida. Iowa, I don't think she'll win. Iowa is a state that is becoming redder and redder. It's a fairly rural state, and I don't think Kamala Harris will appeal to very many voters in Iowa. But I might be wrong. Iowa's a weird state. And same with Montana. Montana is very weird in terms of how it votes. Montana typically votes red in presidential elections, but in gubernatorial races and senator races, and I mean it's a state that can go blue for sure, which is why Montana is left as a swing state. Now, I think Maine 2 is going to go red. This is simply a district that is getting redder. And I don't see it changing in 2020. It wasn't a very close district in 2016. And come 2020, I don't think it will change very much. North Carolina is a state that I think will go blue. Sorry, my baby brother is right here. North Carolina, I think, will go blue because North Carolina is a state that is going to matter if you get the white working class. And again, I think Kamala Harris will do that. And I think Democrats will have an advantage going into 2020 for sure. I don't think Republicans have an advantage in 2020. I think they're very much not going to win this election. Sorry. So now let's go to Nebraska 2. Nebraska 2 I talked about a lot. It's a white working class district. Nebraska 2, or let me rephrase that. I think Kamala Harris would appeal to people in white working class places. So that's why I think Nebraska 2 would go for Kamala Harris. And I think it would be competitive, but I think it would ultimately go to Kamala Harris. Now, going over to a state like Georgia, I think she'd carry. I've talked about Georgia a lot too with her. Georgia is a state that is, again, it's going to be a white working class state. Ultimately, Georgia is also growing in Latino and African American population, two groups that Kamala Harris would really appeal to as well. So let's look at a state like, I don't know, it's either Texas or Montana. So let's do Texas. Latino population is growing in Texas. And for a lot of candidates, I don't think they'd carry Texas in 2020. But I think Kamala Harris is an exception to that. I think by 2024, we're going to see Texas being a pretty much blue state all around. But I think 2020, it's going to depend on who the candidate is. Montana now, Montana is definitely the hardest state right now because Montana's dynamics are very different. Again, I've talked heavily about how population is growing in the Missoula and Bozeman areas and how that's going to be an advantage for Kamala Harris, which it is. Now, this is also a state that went red by 20 points, but more Democrats are going to be out to vote. Ultimately, I think if I make Texas blue, I'm going to have to make Montana blue. So that's my final electoral map now for Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. 409 electoral votes to 129 for Trump. Thank you for watching this video. Bye.